morning everybody. So I'm making this video so that I educate you all about how COVID is presenting these times, and you should not really get too worked up, because right now we definitely are in the stage of community transmission, and lots of us are getting it, be it doctors, be it patients, be it anybody in and around you, it's happening. So now most of us are going to end up with either no symptom, which is called an asymptomatic infection, or with very mild symptoms, so much so that we may not even recognize that we've had a COVID infection. So point is that how do we actually kind of stop it from being passed on to the others? That is, we follow the universal precautions as we all are doing, but be a little bit more stringent. Wear your masks, use your sanitizer, wash your hands properly. And obviously, if you have mild symptoms by way of, let's say, a vague body ache, vague fever, mild fever, headaches, or some kind of symptoms that you can't explain or put a finger to, saying that maybe what is causing you. Maybe it's sometimes that you are just too weak, or you are it's a hot summer time, so maybe that is causing it. But currently, you consider every infection to be or every such manifestation to be probably because of COVID, because lots of patients are actually presenting with very mild and vague symptoms. So this being one, and second, of course, if anybody, as I said, majority, about 80% to 90% people may end up actually or let's say, if I give you another figure, about 6 people in 10 people will have a mild or asymptomatic infection, and if 4 people develop a severe kind of disease, which gives them manifestations like high fever, cough, or it kind of makes them breathless, then these are the patients which need to be really kind of triaged and need to report to the hospitals. The rest can obviously just follow self-quarantine at home and take basic precautions that they don't deteriorate, eat well, hydrate themselves well, rest. So this should be able to handle the vast majority of patients who are asymptomatic or mildly symptomatic. Now, patients who really need to report to the doctors or to the hospitals, when they complain of symptoms like high fever, or they complain of symptoms like severe cough, breathlessness, now their SpO2 needs to be monitored. That is their oxygen saturation. And oxygen saturation again can be monitored at home. Anything which falls below 93 to 95% definitely need hospital care. So at least because all our hospitals are overcrowded, there are no place in the hospitals within the ICU. So if you can, obviously with all due precautions and all due care, without being careless, because sometimes kind of patients crash very rapidly, so there's a morbid fear amongst all of us as to how the infection will play out. So you have to definitely be in touch with a healthcare provider and have a SpO2 monitor at home, a pulse oximeter, and if your SpO2 falls below 93 to 95%, then definitely you need to report to the hospital. And then obviously the hospital, the doctors manage your case. They of course will kind of stratify and decide what needs to be done for you. So this is the general management that as a lay person you ought to know. And you have to, anybody who happens to be a mildly symptomatic patient or moderately symptomatic patient, please do not get anxious. Do not kind of go into that fear psychosis that it is the end of the world, because it is definitely going to not proceed beyond just being a normal viral, mild to moderate viral, with features which may be, as I said, fever, cold, cough, headaches, myalgias, and probably some people will have an upset tummy, they will have diarrhea, loose motion, loss of taste and smell, eugesia, anosmia are the technical terms for that. And many times patients are in fact presenting with only loss of taste and loss of smell. So point is that please take it a kind of like a viral infection. Don't make it too big in your mind. Don't be extremely scared, and don't go into that vicious cycle of being morbidly scared and making it a kind of a a taboo for yourself or for anybody in the society. Now, if we come to the fact that how do we handle pregnant women who will probably be COVID positive. Now, if you are COVID positive, any doctor who's going to deliver you, she will, if you are not really, it's a planned pregnancy, and most of the times now doctors are doing a planned induction or a planned delivery. So if you are going to be tested 3 to 5 days prior to your planning the delivery, and you come out to be positive, now your doctor, lots of hospitals are going to handle, are already handling, as told by the government, that they are, they have to admit COVID positive patients. So your doctor and the team will take all due care in terms of their PPE and in terms of segregating you and carrying out your delivery with all due universal precautions. And again, post delivery, they will obviously stratify you according to the fact that you develop any symptoms or you still remain asymptomatic. So that will be taken care of. If you are obviously asymptomatic and you stay fine, you will be discharged as per protocol and you can go home and self-isolate for the required time. And if you develop any kind of problems, then obviously the multi-speciality hospitals, they have various teams. They enlizen with the physician, the respiratory specialist, and all your cases will be handled. And similarly, if we talk of how to handle patients who are into infertility treatment. Infertility treatment, first and foremost, we will obviously triage on basis of your history, which will first tell us if you have any kind of fever, any kind of contact with any person who fell sick. So first is history taking, which can obviously be done either by way of a telephonic or a video consultation with the patient. And as far as is possible, the patient can share their reports with the doctor by means of WhatsApp, by means of a video consult, or probably just send it across as an email. So once the doctor goes through all your documents, the ones that you've already been tested for, then they can help you guide the line of management. Because definitely right now, at the outset of the COVID epidemic, we had put a stop to all kind of fertility treatment, but gradually, since this is here to stay and fertility treatment can't be stalled for very long, especially in certain cases where you have a poor AMH, or maybe they've been married too long and they're desperate to quickly make sure that they achieve pregnancy soon, and some onco cases where the onco preservation is required. So cases like these, actually we will prefer not postponing, and people are wanting to get their fertility treatment done, and even the guidelines by ESHRE, or even the combined guidelines put forward by IFS, SR and ACE have come out with the recommendations that with all due care, fertility treatment can be carried out. So as I said, you triage your patients, you take all their history via a video consult and an audio consult, exchange all the possible old reports that they have via the WhatsApp, emails, and if you need to recommend them something, some additional tests, they can be ordered. And once all this is done and you really need to see them in person for maybe the procedure, let's say if a patient undergoes an IUI, maybe everything can probably be done remotely. The injections, of course, if they need to come to you for any gonadotropin if required, or for HCG injection which may have to be given for trigger. Then in case a patient is undergoing IVF, then of course we follow a different protocol here, that being that on the day that you start your stimulation, you will send a COVID testing for that patient, and then on the day of trigger you will have to send a second COVID testing. So at any point of time, and if you come across a patient who shows symptoms or has history history of contact with an affected person, or the COVID comes out positive at any stage, the patients have to be told that there will be a high likelihood that the entire procedure will be abandoned. So with consents which have been formulated to this effect, that because safety is priority in these times, any patient who is infected themselves will probably, if we infect not only the team of doctors working, but obviously it is a risk for themselves also. So the threshold for cancellation is going to be very, very high in case anybody turns out positive. So this is a very vague and a very basic guideline as to how we are managing infertility practice as of now. And obviously all the universal precautions, we're working with smaller teams, and we are obviously avoiding minimum contact with patients, minimum attendance, taking all due precaution with using the sanitizers and using our proper gear whenever we are doing procedures in terms of PPE for the healthcare workers, the doctors. So all that has to be followed, and rest, of course, the patient have to be counseled that they have to be very, very honest and forthright about sharing their information, their contact history. So all that put together are the current ways that we are handling practice in these COVID times. Thank you.